If I hadn't decided to fix the fence that weekend, I would have never known my wife's secret. It was one of those crisp Saturday mornings where the sun felt just right, not too hot, not too cold. I was sipping my coffee, staring out into the backyard when I noticed the sagging section of the wooden fence. A couple of planks had loosened during a recent storm, and the whole thing leaned like it was giving up on standing. I had ignored it all week, telling myself I'd get to it eventually. But that morning, I couldn't look away. I set the mug down and made the call. "Hey, Jake," I said, walking over to the edge of the yard. "You got a few hours? The fence? Finally decided it's had enough." Jake smiled that laid-back, easy grin of his. "Been waiting for you to admit it," he said, already heading to his garage. That was Jake, always the first to offer a hand, the kind of guy you wanted next door. Athletic, friendly, knew how to fix just about anything. We'd shared beers, poker nights, even done the occasional double date with our wives. It was the kind of neighborly bond you don't get often anymore. Emily poked her head out from the sliding door just as we started measuring the busted panel. "You boys need anything?" she asked, that familiar softness in her voice. "Maybe some water." "In a bit," I said, not looking too long. I didn't think much of it at first, but I caught something in Jake's eyes when she spoke. A flicker, just a second too long. Then he turned back to the fence like nothing happened. I brushed it off. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I imagined it. Still, as we worked side by side, sweat starting to bead on our foreheads, I noticed other little things. Jake got a message on his phone, and when the screen lit up, I saw her name. Emily. I didn't read the message, just the name. It was probably nothing. She could have been asking about dinner plans or thanking him for helping. But something about that fence didn't feel right, and I wasn't sure it had anything to do with the wood. Emily and I had been married for 8 years. We weren't the perfect couple, not the type you'd see on a Hallmark card or those couples who seem glued to each other in every photo. But we were solid, or at least I thought we were. Our life had settled into a familiar rhythm. I worked long hours managing operations at a logistics firm, and Emily ran a small design studio from home. She had flexibility, creativity, and this magnetic charm that made people naturally drawn to her. She was beautiful, still turned heads when we went out, and sharp, too. Witty, stylish, someone who could hold a conversation with anyone in the room. I trusted her completely. She was the kind of partner who never gave me a reason to doubt her. We shared passwords, joked about each other's search histories, and always made time, at least once a week, for a proper date night. It wasn't always candles and roses. Sometimes it was just pizza and a movie, but it meant something. Or I thought it did. Jake and his wife, Rachel, moved in 2 years ago. They were the ideal neighbors, young, social, full of energy. Jake was ex-military, stayed in shape, good with his hands. Rachel was bubbly, talkative, and had a laugh that carried across the fence. We hit it off almost immediately. There were casual introductions that turned into Sunday BBQs, then poker nights, and even short getaways as couples. Our friend circle started to merge. We became the fun neighbors. Group chats, shared Spotify playlists, plans made on a whim. I never noticed anything wrong. In fact, I was grateful for the routine. I thought it kept us grounded. While I was often away for work or stuck in meetings late into the evening, Emily always seemed content. She and Rachel had gotten close too, so I figured Emily had company when I couldn't be around. There was comfort in that. Looking back, there were signs, little things. Emily's sudden bursts of laughter from another room, messages she said were from clients, occasional mood swings she chalked up to stress. There were nights when I came home and the house felt quieter, like something had happened before I got there, and the energy hadn't reset yet. I ignored it, told myself I was just tired, or projecting because I was working too much. We had built a life, one that looked great from the outside. People envied us, said we were couple goals, that we had it all figured out. I used to believe them. But now I think we were just good at acting. Or maybe I was just blind to the cracks forming right beneath my feet. Saturday came around, and I was finally committed to fixing that damn fence. I made a quick trip to the hardware store, loaded up on planks, nails, and a new drill I'd been meaning to buy. As I pulled into the driveway, I saw Jake already outside, shirt off, pushing a mower across his lawn like he was posing for a magazine cover. I waved him over. "Still up for helping with the fence?" I asked. He wiped sweat from his brow and grinned. "Let's do it." A few minutes later, we were both knee-deep in the project, measuring, sawing, drilling. The sun was climbing, and the smell of cut wood filled the air. Jake had brought over a couple cold beers, and between hammer swings we caught up on life. We joked about work, bitched about taxes, and swapped random stories about stuff we probably wouldn't remember the next day. After a while, the conversation drifted into deeper territory. Marriage, stress, getting older. "You ever think about just dropping everything and moving to the mountains?" Jake asked at one point, wiping his hands on his shorts. "Every Monday morning," I said with a laugh. "But Emily would never go for it. She needs people, noise, color." "Yeah, she does," he muttered, almost to himself. I gave him a sideways glance, but he quickly changed the subject, pointing out a warped plank I hadn't noticed. Around noon, Emily came out with a tray, iced tea, water bottles, and sandwiches. She was in one of those casual little summer dresses she wore when she wasn't trying to impress anyone, but somehow still did. She smiled, placed the tray down, and asked if we needed anything else. "Looking good out here," she said, letting her eyes hang on Jake just a little longer than on me. It might have been my imagination, but her tone had a different edge to it. Something a little too warm, a little too comfortable. Jake played it cool, offered her a polite thank you, and she lingered a second too long before heading back inside. I told myself not to overthink it. They were friends. We were all friends. No big deal. Later, while we were taking a quick break, Jake's phone buzzed. It was face up on the bench. I wasn't trying to snoop. I just happened to look over when the screen lit up. Emily. Just her name. No preview, no emoji. Just her name in bold and the timestamp flashing on the lock screen. Jake. Didn't flinch. Just silenced it and took another sip of beer. I looked away, pretending I hadn't seen anything. It was probably nothing. That's what I told myself. But something about that moment stuck in my head, like a nail slightly off-center that you know is going to splinter the wood later. Emily and I had been married for 8 years. We weren't the perfect couple. Not the type you'd see on a Hallmark card or those couples who seemed glued to each other in every photo. But we were solid. Or at least, I thought we were. Our life had settled into a familiar rhythm. I worked. Long hours managing operations at a logistics firm, and Emily ran a small design studio from home. She had flexibility, creativity, and this magnetic charm that made people naturally drawn to her. She was beautiful, still turned heads when we went out, and sharp too. Witty, stylish, someone who could hold a conversation with anyone in the room. I trusted her completely. She was the kind of partner who never gave me a reason to doubt her. We shared passwords, joked about each other's search histories, and always made time, at least once a week, for a proper date night. It wasn't always candles and roses. Sometimes it was just pizza and a movie, but it meant something. Or I thought it did. Jake and his wife Rachel moved in 2 years ago. They were the ideal neighbors. Young, social, full of energy. Jake was ex-military, stayed in shape, good with his hands. Rachel was bubbly, talkative, and had a laugh that carried across the fence. We hit it off almost immediately. There were casual introductions that turned into Sunday BBQs, then poker nights, and even short getaways as couples. Our friend circle started to merge. We became the fun neighbors, group chats, shared Spotify playlists, plans made on a whim. I never noticed anything wrong. In fact, I was grateful for the routine. I thought it kept us grounded. While I was often away for work or stuck in meetings late into the evening, Emily always seemed content. She and Rachel had gotten close too, so I figured Emily had company when I couldn't be around. There was comfort in that. Looking back, there were signs, little things. Emily's sudden bursts of laughter from another room. Messages she said were from clients. Occasional mood swings she chalked up to stress. There were nights when I came home, and the house felt quieter. Like something had happened before I got there, and the energy hadn't reset yet. I ignored it, told myself I was just tired, or projecting because I was working too much. We had built a life, one that looked great from the outside. People envied us, said we were couple goals, that we had it all figured out. I used to believe them. But now I think we were just good at acting. Or maybe I was just blind to the cracks forming right beneath my feet. In the days following the fence project, something shifted. It wasn't anything dramatic at first. No screaming matches, no slammed doors. But the air between Emily and me felt different. Thicker. Like there was something unsaid floating between us. She started being more guarded with her phone. I'd never thought twice about it before. We used to toss our phones on the kitchen counter or share memes over coffee. But now she always kept hers close. If it buzzed, she'd glance at it quickly and flip it over. Once, I reached for her phone to check the weather, and she practically dove across the room to grab it, laughing it off, saying she had client stuff she didn't want me to see. Confidential designs or something. I nodded, but a knot tightened in my stomach. Jake, too, became noticeably distant. We used to talk almost daily, quick hellos, trading tools, or a beer on the porch after work. But suddenly he had excuses. Busy with a project. Rachel's under the weather. Got errands to run. He started dodging invites, both our usual hangouts and even the casual neighborhood get-togethers. Rachel didn't seem to notice, or maybe she was used to it. But I wasn't. Something wasn't right. One evening, I came home earlier than usual. Emily was in the bedroom with the door cracked open, pacing back and forth, laughing softly into her phone. Her voice was low, but I could still catch a few words. "No, you're terrible," she said, giggling. Then a pause. "Well, Jake, maybe you should have thought of that before." That was all I heard before she noticed me walking in and ended the call. She looked startled, then flashed a quick smile. "Just a client. Sorry, didn't hear you come in." I wanted to ask. I should have asked, but I didn't. I just nodded, walked past her, and went to the kitchen. I stared into the fridge like I was hungry, but I wasn't. I felt sick. From that point on, I started watching more closely. Her body language, the time she spent on her phone, the way she lit up at random messages she wouldn't show me. There were nights she came to bed late, saying she had to finish a proposal. She'd stay up in her studio with the door closed, music on just loud enough to cover the occasional sound of her phone vibrating against the desk. It's a strange thing, feeling suspicion grow where trust used to live. I didn't want to believe it. I loved Emily. She was my partner. We'd built a life together. You don't just throw that away over a gut feeling. And Jake, he was my friend. I'd helped him fix his car. He'd helped me build that damn fence. We'd shared too much. History for something like this to be true. But the unease wouldn't leave me alone. It gnawed at me during meetings, followed me into dreams. I started imagining conversations that hadn't happened, picturing things I didn't want to see. Every time I told myself I was being paranoid, some tiny moment would contradict me. A glance between them, an excuse that didn't quite line up, a message she typed and quickly deleted. I started to feel like a stranger in my own home. Like everyone else knew something I didn't. The worst part was, I still wanted to believe in her. I wanted her to look me in the eye and say it was all in my head, that I was being ridiculous, that she loved me and only me. But she never did. And I never asked, because deep down, some part of me already knew. Trust doesn't shatter all at once. It erodes, slowly, like a quiet leak behind a wall. And by the time you notice the damage, it's already done. I told myself I was being ridiculous, that I needed to let it go, trust her, trust them. But the more I tried to push it out of my head, the heavier it sat on my chest. It was affecting everything, my sleep, my appetite, even my work. I'd catch myself zoning out in meetings, replaying old conversations, wondering if the signs had been there from the beginning. One morning I drove to the hardware store again. This time I wasn't buying fence posts or nails. I picked up a small, discreet security camera, one of those motion-activated ones with night vision and cloud storage. I told myself it was just for safety. We'd had a few raccoons tear up the trash bins lately. It wasn't unusual. Perfect excuse. I mounted it on the back corner of the garage, facing the yard. It had a perfect view of the spot near the fence, the same one Jake and I had fixed. The same one where Emily had once stood just a little too long, talking to Jake, laughing at something only the two of them seemed to find funny. Around the same time, I started looking through our phone records, not full-blown spying, but just checking. She and I shared a plan, and it wasn't hard to see the frequency of numbers called and texts sent. Jake's number showed up a lot. More than Rachel's. More than mine some days. Mostly in the evenings. Some were at 1 or 2 in the morning. I even scrolled through Emily's public social media posts. There wasn't anything obvious. But there were small things. Likes on Jake's pictures, vague quotes in her Instagram stories, photos taken in places I didn't remember us going to together. It all added up to a feeling I couldn't ignore anymore. Then there were the errands. Late-night runs to grab groceries, last-minute client meetings, or quick stops to help Rachel with something. Once or twice I offered to come along and she'd laugh it off, say it wasn't worth the gas, or that I looked tired. By now, the doubt wasn't just living in my head. It had taken over. I needed to know the truth, no matter how much it hurt. So I told Emily I had a work trip coming up, 2 days out of town for a client visit. She barely reacted. Just kissed me goodbye, said, "Be safe," and reminded me to text when I landed. I never got on a plane. Instead, I checked into a small hotel 15 minutes away. I turned off my location, left my car in a long-term parking lot, and spent the evening in silence, refreshing the camera feed on my phone. At first, nothing happened. Just a quiet backyard, wind brushing through the trees, the occasional squirrel darting across the lawn. But I waited. Because I knew. I didn't want to be right. God, I wanted to be wrong. But something deep inside told me that by the end of that night, I'd see everything I didn't want to see. It happened the second night. I'd been glued to my phone for hours, eyes locked on that little screen, as if it held the meaning of my entire life. Most of the day had passed uneventfully. Just the breeze, shifting shadows, and the occasional bird landing on the fence. I almost started to think nothing would happen. Maybe they knew. Maybe I was crazy. Then, around 9:40 p.m., I saw the side gate open. Jake stepped into my backyard like he'd done 100 times before. Only this time. There was no toolbox, no smile, no casual knock on the door. He wasn't supposed to be there. He moved quickly, like he knew exactly where to go, straight across the lawn, right to the corner of the yard, the fence. Seconds later, Emily stepped outside. She looked different. Not in the way she dressed, she wore the same cardigan she always wore around the house, but in the way she moved. Soft, slow, familiar. Like this wasn't the first time. Like she'd done this so many times that it was routine now. They didn't say anything at first. Just looked at each other. Jake reached out, touched her cheek, and I felt the blood drain from my body. Then she kissed him. Not a peck, not a moment of weakness. A kiss that had weight behind it. Intimacy, history, need. It was all there. In my backyard. By the fence I had built. My fists clenched around the phone. My heart pounded so hard it felt like it was knocking against my ribs, trying to break out. I wanted to throw the phone across the room, scream, call her, call him, call someone, but I couldn't move. I just watched. I watched as she leaned into him, whispered something into his ear. I watched as they held each other like they were the ones who belonged together. I watched as they made love in the shadow of my own home. Casual, fearless, like it meant nothing. But it meant everything. I recorded the whole thing, saved it to the cloud, twice. Not because I needed proof for anyone else, but because I needed to know it had really happened. That it wasn't a bad dream, that I hadn't made it up. After they left, after the backyard returned to its stillness, I sat there in the dark of that hotel room, staring at the screen, numb, shaking. And then the memories started coming. Emily laughing at a joke Jake made when I hadn't even heard it. The time she defended him during a petty argument at a BBQ. Her strange reaction when I once joked, "You and Jake get along a little too well." I had laughed. She didn't. I thought about all the times she'd gone out for groceries and came back empty-handed, saying the store was out of what she needed. All the times she smelled like a different cologne. I chalked it up to her hugging friends or visiting a boutique. I wanted so badly to believe her. But now I couldn't unsee it. The betrayal wasn't just physical. It was emotional, layered, intimate. This had been going on for months, maybe longer. Right under my nose, with my neighbor, my friend. And the worst part? She never even flinched. She'd kissed me goodbye that morning like everything was normal. Like I didn't matter. The man I was before that night, he died in that hotel room. And I had no idea what the hell to do next. I came home a day early. No text, no call. I just walked through the front door like I had every other day for the past 8 years. Except this time, something inside me was different. Heavier. Hardened. Emily was in the kitchen, scrolling. Through her phone, sipping tea. She looked up and smiled, surprised. "You're back early?" I didn't smile. I didn't say a word at first. I just looked at her. Really looked at her. She set the mug down slowly. "What's wrong?" "I know," I said, my voice quiet but sharp. "About you and Jake." Her face froze, like a film reel catching in the projector. Her mouth parted, and I saw the flicker of panic in her eyes before the words formed. "What are you talking about?" "I saw it, Emily. On camera. You were in our backyard. With him." Her hand trembled as she backed up a step. What camera? You're spying on me. Now? Don't," I snapped. "Don't make me the villain in this." She looked like she wanted to keep lying, like she wanted to claw her way out of the truth. But the weight of it finally crushed her. She slumped against the counter, covering her face with both hands, her voice cracking. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said. "It just did. I didn't plan it. I swear." "How long?" "Almost a year." "A year?" She started crying. Real, heaving sobs. But they didn't move me, not like they used to. I stood there, arms stiff at my sides, feeling nothing but a hollow ache and a rising fire. You could have told me, I said. You could have left me. Instead, you stayed and lied. Every single day. I didn't want to hurt you, she whispered. I laughed, but it came out cold and bitter. Too late for that. I walked out before she could say anything else. Jake was outside, washing his truck like it was just another Sunday. He looked up, surprised, and wiped his hands on a towel. Hey, man. You don't get to hey, man me. His face fell. He knew. You were in my yard, with my wife, Jake. He tried to play it off like it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't supposed to go that far, things got complicated. Complicated? I stepped closer. You lied to my face. Over and over. You came into my home. Ate at my table. You were supposed to be my friend. Jake's bravado faltered. Look, I'm sorry, all right? I didn't mean for it to happen. We didn't want you to find out. Like this. No, I said. You just didn't want me to find out at all. There was nothing else to say. Nothing that would fix any of it. The betrayal hit like a wrecking ball. Not just the loss of my wife, but the destruction of something I thought was solid, real. Friendship. Trust. I turned and walked away. No yelling, no fists, just silence. When I stepped back into the house, Emily was sitting on the floor, knees to her chest, mascara smudged, eyes distant. We didn't speak, not a word. And in that silence, everything we'd built quietly collapsed. I packed a bag that night and left. Not in a dramatic rush, not slamming doors or throwing accusations over my shoulder. I just walked upstairs, grabbed a few things, and walked out. I couldn't sleep in that house. I couldn't breathe in it. Every room felt tainted, like their whispers still lingered in the corners. I stayed at my brother's place for the first few days. He didn't ask many questions, just handed me a beer and let me sit in silence. When I finally told him, he was quiet for a long time, then shook his head. You deserve better, man, he said. Simple, but it hit me hard. Word spread. Some friends were shocked. Some said they'd always thought something was off. A few offered support. Others kept their distance, unsure of what to say or how to act around the implosion of something they thought was stable. Emily called, texted, emailed. She wanted to talk. She cried over the phone, begged me to come home, said she wanted to fix it, to try counseling. She said she loved me, that she never stopped. I didn't know how to respond to any of it. I missed her. That's the part no one really understands. About betrayal. You don't just stop loving someone because they shattered you. You miss the version of them you thought was real. I kept replaying memories. Vacations, lazy Sundays, the way she used to reach for my hand in bed when she thought. I was asleep. All of it felt like a lie now, but the ache was real. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I'd lie awake until sunrise, staring at the ceiling of my brother's guest room, running over everything I missed, everything I ignored. My mind became a war zone, love and anger tearing at each other with no end in sight. I started journaling, because a therapist told me to. Yeah, I went to therapy. First time in my life. I didn't know what else to do. The pain was too big to carry alone, and I had no idea how to process it. There were days I felt okay. Clear, strong. And then I'd hear a song, or drive past our favorite restaurant, or see a couple holding hands at a stoplight, and it would all come crashing down again. Emily and I met once, in a park, neutral ground. She said she wanted to understand. to explain herself, to make amends. She cried again. I didn't. I just listened. When she asked if I still loved her, I couldn't answer, not because I didn't, but because I did, and that made everything worse. I'm still figuring it out, still deciding what forgiveness looks like, or if it's even possible. Some wounds don't bleed on the outside, but they leave you limping. All the same, the fence still stands, repaired, sturdy, just as Jake and I left it. Every time I see it, I remember the weekend we fixed it, the text, the silence, the unraveling. It's just wood and nails, but to me it's a monument now, a symbol of everything I thought was strong and whole until it wasn't. The fence is fixed, but I'm still working on myself, and some days that's the best I can do. Betrayal changes you. It doesn't just break your heart. It breaks your understanding of what love is supposed to be, of what loyalty looks like, of who you are when no one's watching. I used to believe that love meant full trust, that if you committed to someone, you gave them your whole heart, no questions asked. I thought loyalty was something automatic, something that just existed between two people once they said, I do. But I was wrong. What I've learned, what I earned through sleepless nights and gut-wrenching realizations, is that trust isn't a gift you hand out like a party favor. It's built, slowly, deliberately, and it has to be protected, not with suspicion or paranoia, but with boundaries, self-respect, and awareness. I learned that being a man doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending you're okay when you're not. Masculinity isn't about brushing pain under the rug. It's about owning it, feeling it, and growing from it. There's strength in vulnerability. There's courage in asking for help, in admitting you're hurt, in showing your scars without shame. There were moments when I hated her, moments I hated myself, for not seeing it sooner, for trusting too easily, for missing all the signs. But now, looking back, I realize those feelings were just part of the storm. Necessary, painful, transformative. Healing doesn't come with a timeline. There's no clean arc, no tidy resolution. Some mornings I wake up and feel lighter, like I've finally left the weight behind. Other days, I still feel the bruise. But even that bruise reminds me of what I've survived. I journal. More now. I take long walks. I speak more honestly, with others and with myself. I'm learning to enjoy my own company again, to rebuild from the inside out. And if there's anything I can offer you, whoever you are, reading this, it's this. Sometimes the truth is hiding just behind the fence you never thought to look. Over. We all build walls, fences, borders around our lives, thinking they'll keep the world out, that they'll keep what we love safe inside. But life has a way of testing those barriers, of showing us that what we don't see can still hurt us. So don't be afraid to look over the fence, to ask the hard questions, to check in with your partner and with yourself. You might not always like what you find, but you'll know. And there's peace in knowing. I'm not fully healed. I'm not sure I ever will be. But I'm standing, stronger than I was, wiser, clearer. And maybe that's what growth really looks like. Not perfection, not forgetfulness, but facing the truth, accepting the pain, and walking forward anyway.